this will enhance your credibility. So the rule of thumb is prepare, prepare, prepare in advance. Because not so long ago, I was at a presentation and I had prepared very well with my assistant Kabugo at the time of this recording, and we prepared very well. And guess what? The guy who was supposed to speak before me was taking notes for what he was going to give these people. So as you can imagine, the quality of the presentations were different. So I had a very high level of responses from the audience, and it was just fair, so to speak. So the key rule of thumb is always prepare. Now, number one, before you start preparing, be clear of who your audience is. These are the people you'll be talking to. It's just like someone who is serving in a restaurant. When you're going to serve food, you first talk to your client. You first get to know what the other person wants. You get to know what their budget is. You get to know what their interest is. You can't just see people come, enter a restaurant, and then boom, here it is. All the people love this. No. And that's the mistake that some speakers make. They master one speech and they think it will fit in each and every audience. Or in my industry as a motivational speaker, I've also heard of instances where some people say, you know what? That guy is brilliant, or that lady is brilliant to listen to the first time. But after that, the second time and beyond, don't even waste your time. Why? These are people who have mastered a certain way of speaking, a certain package, and that's the same package they say over and over again, even when it does not fit the audience. So get to know who your audience is. And number two is be clear of your purpose. Again, how do you want people to think, to feel, and to act after your presentations? After your presentation or speech. Those are the core three items. How do you want them to think or to know, to feel after your talk, and to do? What sort of actions do you want them to take? So write it down. Once you're preparing, you write it at the top of your sheet. Assuming this is your sheet, you write it here. Purpose. I want, again using the old story. So this, assuming this is your sheet of paper, you write it here at the top. Purpose. I want, at the end of my talk, for the youth to know the value of entrepreneurship and why it's important for their security, and to feel excited and believe that they can make it, and before the end of next term to actually start a business. See? So I'm very clear in terms of what I want them to know, what I want them to feel, and what I want them to do. Therefore, whether it is a story or an illustration or an example, it will be geared towards achieving that particular outcome. Make sense? Purpose. Next is create an exciting introduction. It has to be something that really knocks you out of your seat, so to speak, and I'll tell you why. Then know what the overriding main point is. Now, let us take some meat on the keys that we've talked about. Again, just to be clear, we want to talk about who the audience is. When you're structuring your speech, know who your audience is, be clear on their purpose, create an exciting introduction, and know the overriding main point. Now, let's look at some bits. Who is your audience? What are some of the things you need to know about? These are things you have to research about. One is, before you hit the bullseye, you must first know where the ball is in the first place, meaning where are the people at in terms of their problems, their challenges, and where they want to go. So know your audience. What are some of the things? Know what the age group is. Is it young people? Is it old people? Is it a mixture? If it's a mixture, I like knowing the percentage. What's the mixture between high school students, university students, and professionals? So then that way, it means that I have to be quite dynamic in my presentation to be able to appeal to all the three groups. Why is this important? Because assuming they told you, oh, your speech, your talk will be at the university. So you might assume that, oh, these are university students, only to find that it is a collection of all students from the country. And when they say students, they mean high school, university students. Therefore, and their interests and challenges are different. Or they might say, oh, the talk is at the university. And again, you're thinking, oh, university students, only to find that they are students, they are lecturers, their parents are there, and their friends are there. So before you know it, actually that happened to me some time back, but at least I knew ahead of time. It was a kick-off talk at a university, at one of the universities, but there were students, there were parents, there were lecturers, so I had to structure my presentation to make sure that it caters for all those age groups. What are their income levels? See, poor people will think in a certain way, and rich people think in a certain way. Poor people have certain problems, and rich people have different problems. So you need to know, what are the income levels? Is it people who are earning, for example, $10,000 a year, or is it 50,000? Is it 100,000? Are they millionaires, millions of dollars? What is the age group? So you need to know, the income levels. You need to know the income levels, because then it will give you an idea. One example of an income level where it applies, assuming you're talking to very poor people who don't even have TVs. So for you to use an illustration of a TV program, then it won't make sense, because they will be like, what is he thinking about? And you don't want that. So you need to make sure that you understand these income levels to give you that sort of dimension. Education levels. When I say education, I mean formal education. Are we talking about primary level graduates? Are we talking about high school graduates? Are we talking about university graduates? Are we talking about a mixture? Are we talking about postgraduate level education? Again, then that will influence the kind of language you use, the kind of examples you use. So ask about the jargon. This is one of my favorites. So this is critical, especially when you're going to speak to the young people. So I usually ask, when I'm on the phone talking to an organizer of the event, I'll ask, so tell me, what are some of the jargons what sort of jargon do these young people use? Say, like I remember one time I had my sister in high school. As the time of this recording, she just graduated in high school, and she was very bright, and she said, oh, now they call me a bwat. I was like, what is bwat? She said, no, it means very bright. Okay. So if I was going to talk, I would say, okay, I would probably say, whether you're a bwat or not, they'll be like, okay, he understands. So for young people, I'll ask, okay, what sort of words do they use to mean cool, to mean hot, to mean successful? Then when I'm speaking, I add in those words, they're like, yeah, they're like, because what you're doing there is that establishing that bond. It's as if you're part of them, you're part of the crowd. So it's critical to know their jargon. Ask. Then ask the organizer of the event by answering that question. What are some of the challenges they are facing, the problems they are facing, and the victories? Now, why those two particular words? Challenges, it means you're able to answer their call, to give them solutions. Call them challenges or problems. Typically, my advice is this. Part of your biggest job as a speaker is this word, challenges or problems. Why? Because then you step in to offer solutions. That way you leave people feeling better than who they are. And then victories. Victories mean you find out what they have been successful about. Why answer that? Because then you want to celebrate them together with the group. Then it will raise their confidence and self-esteem. Let me give you an example on how this helped me some time back. I was speaking, it was the year 2002, I remember. I was in one of the high schools in Virginia, USA. So I asked these questions. Then I asked about the victories. And apparently that school where I went, they had just won a championship in soccer in that particular district. So when I was opening up my speech, and then I also, that was one. Number two, there was a young man called John, and his dad was bedridden. He was extremely sick, and he was ill, and it was affecting the people around him. He was called John. I still remember the name. So I remember when I was opening my speech, I said, look, number one, we know that one of our brothers here, John, his dad is seriously ill. He needs some serious prayers. So remember him in your prayers. Remember the dad in your prayers. The second thing that before I kick off, I also know that you won the recent district championship in terms of soccer. It tells me that I'm speaking to champions. I'm speaking to winners. Give yourselves a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Like, yeah! They were cheering on. They were cheering up and down. From that moment on, I had them in the palm of, they were literally feeding from my palm. What happened at that moment, because I spoke about something personal in that community, it told them, hey, this guy is with us. He knows us. But you know what I did? I found out this detail before I stepped on stage. Do you see the edge this will give you compared to other speakers? It is phenomenal. That tip alone, if you take it to heart and you implement it, it is worth all the money you've invested in this program. I guarantee you that. Why? Because then you are going to separate yourself from the crowd. You will appear like a pro. You appear like this person who cares, not only cares, but communicates about issues that matter, the challenges, the victories. And because then you're speaking their language, using the jargon. And that is what gives you the edge, my friend. You see, when you use their jargon, it is effective because you're identifying them. It's the language, it's their problems, their issues. Then when you combine especially the jargon and then what their victories are and their challenges are, you become super, super connected to them. And there they are able to listen in and tune in. The other key question, of course, you have to ask yourself is purpose. At the top. So you've known the audience, what they are all about, and then now you're asking, and if I may take you back here again, so you're asking the challenges. So when you're asking someone who's organizing the event, you're asking them, what are some of their problems? What are they struggling with? If they had the biggest question, what would that be? And you could even ask, recently we had an event, so we sent in a questionnaire. And asked the participants to send them back to us without necessarily putting their names, just directly to us. And some of the things we asked them was, what is the one thing that you would really love to learn? What are you struggling with? What's the biggest question? What is the most burning question that you have? Because then you want to make sure that you are able to answer those questions. So if you can access people, if you can send a questionnaire or meet a sample audience, what I also like doing is, if you can, get contacts. If you can't send the questionnaires, get contacts of some of these, a sample of these participants, then ask them particular questions. Hey, I'll be speaking on this date and I'll be talking about this topic. If you were, what would make this event a success? What's your most burning question? What are you struggling with? What is the one thing you're really looking forward to me talking about? So then there you're getting answers around challenges. What are the things that you're really proud of in your community? You're getting answers around victories. So you speak to different stakeholders. It could be participants or the organizers of the event. So I like getting a mix of both. Say managers or leaders of that particular team, and then the actual participants who will be part of that group. And when you do that, when you combine the two, people at the top level and people in the middle level or at the lower level, you get all the different levels, get their perspective in terms of what their expectations are, the challenges, their victories. Then you'll be speaking their language. It's amazing that when I do this work, sometimes I will speak to a group, they're like, hey, you're speaking like you're really living with us. How did you know all this? And in my heart, I'm like, well, I have a lot of experience. So I know these things. Now, that's partly true because over time human beings are human beings. But by making that detailed research, by spending time to make that research, then you're not getting things out of your head. Instead, you're getting things out of their heads and hearts and then addressing those particular issues. That's what separates you. That's what will give you that competitive edge and make you really stand out. Because that's why I'm doing this program for you, my friend, to make sure that you stand out from the crowd. From my heart of hearts, I know that given an opportunity, you can always speak. But That's what everyone else does. What I'm giving you are tools, techniques that are proven to work, that will give you a competitive edge. That's why you're spending your money, that's why you're spending your time, and my challenge to you is you just use these principles, you will see an amazing shift in your performance. As a matter of fact, this is the same content that I use for my high-end clients, and I always assure them that you get a minimum 50% increase in your effectiveness as a speaker, and we have facts to prove it, because I typically record them, play the image on the screen, they are able to see, and on average I'll get 90 to 100% increase in their effectiveness as communicators. So what I'm showing you is really works, because I've proven it over and over again, and this is one of the killer techniques, making research ahead of time, and I've shown you how to research it. So back to purpose. So you know the audience, then you're asking yourself the purpose. Okay, how do I want people to think, to feel, and to act? You write it out. I told you about that. Then next, introduction. How do you kickstart your speech? Because for me, the most important parts of the speech is how you start and how you end. Because how you start will tell people what to expect. Therefore, the introduction is extremely critical. One of the keys to make sure that you kick off well is to greet people. It's something I've noticed that never fails over the years that I've spoken. How do you do that? So you stand tall in front of an audience, and then you put on this broad smile, say, "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen." Just make sure it's morning, okay? So when it's afternoon, you say, "Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen." Now, this is the other trick I like doing. Now, when they respond in lower energy, "Good morning, good morning, sir." Then I will turn and say, like, "Come on, I know I'm talking to a group that is much better than that. I know you took breakfast. Can I hear somebody with energy? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen." They will say, "Good morning." Now, the energy typically will rise, and then I'll say, "Yes," something like that. So greet people. Why greet them? Because people love being greeted. And again, it is something different. Because usually when people are going to kick off, they say, they start by mentioning all this long range of introduction, as recognizing people. The chairman so-and-so, the president of this council, and the guest of honor, and the members of parliament, so people almost go to sleep. Hey, just greet people, get them going, and boom, you're good to go. So, and you hear personalities and the like. So what I usually like is, when you're making when it's a long list, make just a quick introduction, say the guest of honor, and then acknowledge 2 or 3 people, and then once you're done, you can then say something like, "and all protocol observed." Why do that? Because there are people with huge egos. They would have wished that you acknowledge them. I mean, even the head of some little thing, they would want to be acknowledged in a public manner. Just to show you how they love it. Some of them, even without you telling them to stand up, you mention their name, they stand up and they first look around and they wave. That's how people love being introduced. But unfortunately, you don't have that time. Sometimes you just have 5 minutes. So just acknowledge a few people and say, "All protocol observed." Just remember that line, "all protocol observed," and it will take care of any formalities that you should have had. All right. Then, besides that, you also need to know, what is your main point? What's the overriding point you want to put across? Let me give you an example. It could be that you are talking about leadership. And leadership has different tenets. It has different concepts. It has different ideas. But the main idea you might be wanting to emphasize is that leadership is action. Now, assuming that you want to put that idea that leadership is action, then it means for every other sub-point you have, then you should be re-emphasizing, saying it again. Let me give you an example. It could be that I have this